Olá, tudo bem? Aqui é o Jorge, mais um episódio 10 de A Case of Distrust. Esse é o último episódio desse momento. Talvez ele seja realmente o último episódio, talvez ele seja o episódio que tem a pausa, né? Aquele negócio, estou jogando Hollow Knight, aí pausei nos 10 episódios e vou jogar outro jogo por mais 10 episódios ou até o jogo acabar, o que foi primeiro, e aí volto pro Hollow Knight. Então, a todo caso, esse episódio é na segunda. Na quinta tem Hollow Knight. Talvez esse episódio seja o episódio final de Case of Distrust. Você já sabe, porque vai ter um F gigante no vídeo se for o episódio final. Se não, vamos que vamos. Mas enfim, a gente tava entrando na delegacia para falar mais sobre o Connor Green, ou melhor, o Connor Bragg, o mafioso morto. Stepped out of the taxi cab and walked through the station doors, ready to chase any leads on Green. But standing in front of me as I entered, bawling her eyes up from her sockets, was Mrs. Green. Puta merda. She saw me and brought her wailing closer. Caraca. Alone, she exhaled through her sobbing. You were working for my husband. What happened? Her breathing obscured her next sentences, but I got the general idea. I told her I knew as little about the matter as she did, but that I was looking into it, and I was sure the officers were doing their best. Olha essa música que fodida, deixa eu aumentar um pouquinho pra mim. I told her I knew, falei dos officers doing their best. She begged me to help them, again drowning most of her sentences with her sobbing. I promised I would try. She took a slow inhale, raised her chest, and walked out of the station. Eita! When she was out of sight, Fred Grant came around the corner and let out a snort. Grant was another investigator for the SFPD. I studied his ruddy face, strewn with broken capillaries that it gave the impression of a map of streams. A cigar often poked through his mouth. Gostei que o cigarro não, né? O cachinho, o charuto. No caso deve ser um charutinho. Não sei dizer. Eu gosto que os retratos só tem uma cor. E é cortado com o papel, de trás do fundo. Enfim. A cigar often poked through his mouth, hardening his jaw and twisting his face into a scowl. I suppose that was an appropriate look for a man who enjoyed his bribes in liquid form. Eita! Grant had never been a supporter of policewomen, and he was no fan of mine. He lighted a cigar and said, "The widow seems pretty torn up about him. You're really helping her out?" I said I was. And he gave another snort. Figure she'd go to you after we told her no. Eita, I raised a questioning eyebrow. Look, last thing I gotta do is head to the tin spoon. Then this goes in the freezer. That meant he was about to close this case cold. You aren't cheesing it up? I asked. He looked appalled that I would even ask. We've got more to deal with than some dead gangster. The captain don't care about crap like this, so long as it's not spreading too far. And what about the girl? What does she expect? He asked. This broad goes up and married an Irishman, probably killed by one of his own, or some dago. All those bums run together. Caralho, ok. Dago é uma gíria pejorativa para italianos. É uma gíria racista. Um apelido racista para italianos. Enfim. All those bums run together. I gave him a frown, to which he responded, Look, if the missus wants you on this, that's her gamble. But it ain't gonna lead you nowhere. I don't expect support from the boys. Not even if I find Green Skiller? He laughed. If you get a confession, we'll cop him. Not something the DA can dump his nose at either. They gotta admit 3 things. Means how they kill Green. Opportunity, when they did it. Motivation, well, why they bother. You do that, then sure we'll be looking right behind you. But there ain't nobody here looking at it, I promise. He pulled a cap and walked out. Caralho, I heard a glare in Grant's direction, and I was still fuming as I turned down the hallway toward Shipman's office. Shipman was frowning at the stacks of paper atop his desk, but he stood up and smiled when he saw me. Glad you made it. I vented about, I asked him what he found on the case thus far. He laughed and motioned at the paper stacks. Nothing in any way related to Green. Piled under the trash now. Nobody's looking into Green's case here. I must have scowled a mean look at him because Shipman was quick to shake his head. Not that the case is dead, we see, but Captain has no one on it. Even Grant's coming off as soon as he can. We're underwater with other bunk. So you have nothing for me? Not true. The Department still did the regular foxtrot. He tossed me a beige folder. Inside was a large black and white photograph of Green's face. Muscles relaxed and eyes closed. It all looked almost normal apart from his flattened hat behind his hat and the dirt and grass behind that. The report behind the pictures noted 3 important clues. First, that Green died at midnight the previous night. I cursed myself that I'd been so close to stopping it. Second, that Green was killed with 2.45 caliber bullets to the chest. But no, those slugs weren't from a pea shooter. Green was killed by a mean gun. Finally, that Green was found this morning laying in Washington Square Park. That was only a block away from the Tin Spoon. I noted each of those facts and gave the photo back to Shipman. Caralho, do ladinho do Tin Spoon. Será que foi o Tiny Paul? All we got, Shipman said, laying the photo back on his desk. Can pinch the gunman if you can prove the case, but you got to solve it without much support. Don't have to die to help either, he said. No point coming back here until you got your man. At least I'm on a case, I said. That's good enough to leave a tickle pink. Chipman laughed. But listen, we need a confession on this one. Captain doesn't want to run around. Okay, right. Grant mentioned they have to admit to how, why, and when they killed Green. That's it. Prove that, we'll pick him up, he said. Never been on a murder before, right? Can get tense. Just know if you accuse someone but can't prove everything, they'll turn like a switch. Might like you 1 minute but hate you the next. Chatting with folks is your easiest route to more information, but won't get any better after you accuse someone of murder. So be careful who you accuse. Could make your case harder if you go the wrong way. Pois é. Alright, I get it, I said, and I internalized it. And remember, Shipman concluded, plenty of lies out there, but you can't contradict means, motive, or opportunity with anything in your notes. I thanked him and walked out of his office. I stood outside a police station and went over the mantra. I had to prove means, motive, and opportunity from anyone I suspected out of the murder. Once I found all 3 for a single person, I'd have them licked. I started out to begin the chase. Bom, tomei um gole d'água. Tá difícil, cara, pensar em quem foi. Eu tô suspeitando do Tiny Paul, mas principalmente da mulher do Green. Tô achando que ela matou, tomou aquele ópio do caralho lá e deitou e tá se fingindo até agora. Tô achando, não sei, mas tô achando. Mas vamos lá. Deixa eu ir pro Tin Spoon, né? E falar com o Connor Green. com o Connor Green, com o brother, né? I hailed the driver, gave him the address, and stepped through the back door. I debated talking to the driver. We talked about politics, but I don't remember exactly what about. Not all my conversations with cab drivers were memorable. Vamos lá. I rubbed my knuckles on the same metal door. Instead of the usual dark eyes, the door swung open to reveal Fred Grant. He let out a BC, good seeing you, with more whiskey in his breath than a fire breather. He stumbled down the next few steps, and I caught his limp body. All loose ends tied up, he said, winking at me while he tried to stand tall. Through the doorman in the back of the wagon, he continued. He says nobody came in or out from the upstairs billiard hall last night. A hiccup interrupted Grant's thought. You know, I believe him, but the boys need someone to work on, and putting wells on this goon will make the afternoon go faster. Caralho, brother. He again tried to stand upright. Failing at that, he stumbled to his police car, got behind the wheel, let the sirens loose, and drove the machine around the corner. Okay. I continued up the stairs to find a similar scene as the day before, only Tiny Paul had been replaced by a young woman idly playing with a deck of cards scattered across the billiard table. Ok, vamos falar com ela. I could see the tears welled in the girl's eyes. Oh, moça. I approached the young woman and looked her up and down. I studied her face. She was in her early 20s and was naturally pretty, with deep eyes, shimmering black hair, and big rouged lips, though holding back tears somewhat twisted her face. Who are you? I asked. She said in a clear, strong voice, I'm Ella Smith. I work nights as a backing singer. She added in a more delicate tone. But, well, last night I had a bit too much of the cider. The whole band was here, playing a long game of poker and singing after work. I wondered if she had been in the billiards room since the previous evening. Perhaps she didn't want to talk about her night. It might embarrass a young woman. But I had to know the story. And you're still here? I asked. I came to this morning. A blush interrupted her before she continued her thought. I was laying on the pool table when I heard the cop banging on the metal door. I asked about Grant, changing the subject from her drinking. I think she had appreciated that. He was curious about the shooting outside last night. You know, a man died, but I didn't hear a peep. I don't think we could have heard anything through all that racket. I realized she was related to the Green case, at least partially. I had to bump her for information. Não vou acusar a moça, né? Pelo amor de Deus. Deixa eu pensar em evidências. Calma aí, tem uma moto ali? Só um minutinho. Então, eu vou falar da carta do Green. Vamos ver. I mentioned Green had received a threatening letter, but Ella Smith claimed to know nothing of it. Caraca. Eu vou dar uma passada por tudo e eu vou acabar, como fala? Vou acabar não. Na verdade, vou sim. Vou acabar o episódio aqui. Já tá ficando grande. Infelizmente, a gente vai parar nesse meio, uma pausa e a gente volta pro Hollow Knight. Mas tá tudo bem, faz parte. É parte de tudo isso. E daqui a um tempo a gente volta pro Case of Distrust e acaba com isso. Tá bom? Desculpa pausar assim. No pico da conversa, mas é o jeito. O Hollow Knight é muito grande e eu preciso acabar com ele. Então espero que vocês estejam gostando. Eu te vejo em Case of Distrust daqui a pouquinho, juro. Daqui a 6 semanas, daqui a 1 mês e meio, rapidinho. Então um beijo, até a próxima.